good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another EVE Frontier live stream. I, of course, am your host, as always, CCP Jötunn, joining you live, though the stream will not be. We are hard at work. Our team is busy, currently scraping and clawing, getting ready for FanFest, which begins next week. We'll be talking about that a little bit later at the end of the stream. But until then, you have me and a pre-recorded stream that we did just the other day between myself, CCP Hex, CCP Heartbleed, and CCP LayoutLord, talking about the UI and UX of our upcoming space survival horror, massively multiplayer game RPG, EVE Frontier. It's such a delight, of course, to see all of you, as always. And to anybody watching this on YouTube, what up? How you doing? Hope you're well. I will be looking forward to reading your comments after this one because it is a banger. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here. These three, we've never met any of them before. We have never had them on stream. They did a great job. I was super excited to see them, really put something together. The most organized, and I say this, I don't want to understate this if I can avoid it. The truly most organized stream prep I've ever seen in my entire life. They had a whole presentation. They put the presentation together in Figma instead of PowerPoint. It was all very well spaced out, about as much as you can expect from a bunch of UI designers. So, without too much further ado, we are going to jump ahead to that pre-recording. Hang on after the break when we come back, because we'll be coming back to me. We'll have a couple more things to talk about here at the end, and then I'll let you get on with your weekend. Until then, take it away, CCP Jötunn from the past, along with CCP Hex, CCP Heartbleed, and CCP LayoutLord. Thanks, CCP Jötunn. Much appreciated. Hello, everybody. It's me, CCP Jötunn from the past. Joining me today, my God, what an exciting and not at all stressful 20 minutes this has been getting this all set up. Everybody, I am stoked. This is the first time we've had any of the three of you on stream, which is great. I'm sure you're not even remotely nervous about this. There's no anxiety about what's happening here at all. So I'm jazzed. So this is the UI UX stream. We're going to talk UI UX, but we're going to be talking it with three of our very talented designers and programmers and engineer. Engineer. We're going to be talking with CCP Hex, CCP Heartbleed, and CCP LayoutLord. Ladies, hello. Thank you so much for joining me. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. So you guys are all part of the user experience, user interface team. You focus a lot on how players interact with the game, how players the tools that players are going to be using to interact with the universe. And this is your whole MO. This has been kind of the big talking point for for us for a long time, because I think everybody can kind of agree that the version of the UI that's in the game right now is maybe not great, but it's getting there, right? It's getting there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Soon.
Yeah, soon TM, for sure. Soon TM. So I'm just going to let you guys introduce yourself real quick. I'm going to go through you. We'll go Hex to LayoutLord in that direction. Just tell us your name. Tell us, not your name. We're going to try and not dox each other. CCP Heartbleed has promised me that she is going to dox at least one person on this stream.
Yeah, very likely.
Yes, yeah. CCP Overlord is sitting over there with a counter. He's waiting right now. We'll just go through. Tell us your name and what you do, or I guess your position and what your focus is. CCP Hex, please.
Yeah, I'm CCP Hex. I'm a UI UX designer. More focused on the UX and flow. But me and CCP LayoutLord also kind of collaborate on style. We are mostly working on base building.
Cool.
At the moment. So.
Awesome. Love that. CCP Heartbleed, please introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm CCP Heartbleed. I am a UI UX engineer. So everything these girls design, I implement in the game.
Nice. And CCP LayoutLord, you?
Yeah, I'm CCP LayoutLord, senior UI UX designer. Recently transitioned to the in-game stuff. Previously, I was doing the Vault. So yeah.
Hell yeah. And the Vault looks great. So good so far. Love that. for us. Yeah. So, I mean, I think when people talk about UI UX, obviously, in a game like Eve or any game that has any MMOs specifically are kind of bad about this, where there's just a preponderance of information, right? There's just so much on the screen at any one time, and I think a lot of people find that it's easy just to simplify that and just just give us everything, like give us every bit of information. But players don't actually want that. I think you can all probably agree that's not ideal. So I want to take a few minutes just real quick and I know we have a presentation. I'm very excited. We have a presentation that you were all kind enough to put together. But I guess just in very broad strokes, when you're given the task of supplying, players of a game like Frontier with information about the game, or and how that should feel when they're interfacing with the game, what is your general philosophy of? Actually, you know what? Fuck this. We're getting into it's a really great slideshow. We're gonna go to the slideshow first. So we're gonna go to this screen. Ooh, look at this. And let's go through this. I know CCP Hex, you put a lot of this together. And you are certainly controlling the buttons here. So because this is fascinating. I mean, one of the things people are talking about a lot, over the last couple of weeks is like, what is a placeholder? What isn't a placeholder? What are you guys like? What can we look at right now, or what can we look at in June and say, okay, this is kind of what they have in mind for the future. So, please.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question that we are trying to answer here today.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of approach this as we are just going to be as transparent and honest as possible.
Good.
And let you in to have a little sneak peek on the current work.
I love this cool, inspiring tagline, by the way. Very great. Not at all phoning it in for this stream.
We are not content creators. I think it's clear.
That's true. Designers, engineers, not content creators. Gotcha. Okay, we'll leave the content for CCP Maximum Cats.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, let's take it away.
So
Wow.
for these people,
I need some action. I need like a headshot. I need a proper headshot. I think the headshot that I have in like Slack right now is like the picture I took when I first got off the plane the very first time I got here. Just like, all right. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you may have heard that everything is a placeholder. But we're here today to, let you know why. Tell you why. I'm gonna hand my keyboard over to Elsa.
Oh yes, okay. I get the actual keyboard. I didn't even realize.
Nice.
Okay. I'm gonna try to
shout out to CCP Wizard in the background. Not at all like just lurking back there. That's very funny.
Exactly. Okay, so yes. Oh, sorry. I'm just gonna start here. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the history of the framework and the system we are using now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try to have it pretty high level, not really that technical. But if you guys here feel like you're losing me, please just feel free to step in and ask some questions.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so the system we're using is Carbon UI. And this is something we inherited from Eve, and it's decades old.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's very extensive, and it has a lot of stuff. But basically, it's Python based, and you can see this screenshot on the picture here is an example from our UI data bank almost that's in game for us developers. And there you can see we can choose from all of these types of elements that are commonly used in the games, and this is just like a collection of classes and components. Originally, the system was designed to be like a multi-layer, like an abstract layer, so you have like a base class, and then you can use that to kind of define your own by using inheritance, which is like a technical term. I don't know if everybody knows it,
sure.
But basically you have like an instance, like a child, almost like a copy of the base class that you can configure yourself. And that was like the original thought. And there you can see an example of a button and an example of the code, like how we implement the button in code. So this adds on some complexity. For example, like there's less like granular control over the especially like the look of the elements, because it's all been predefined.
Sure.
There's like more skill involved in adding UI elements than, for example, in web programming, because you need engineers and you need programmers to implement the design, or like to implement the elements in code. And there's not like I say, like the division of form and function. It also kind of introduces this bloating of the code, because the more you use the inheritance, the more instances you get for like specific types of buttons, and that also just means like there's more things to kind of oversee and more maintenance to be had. And it also introduces like this fragility, because like you can't really, it's really hard to go back and try to change something in the base, because it affects a lot of these inherited classes.
There's a phrase that gets tossed around a lot when people are talking about EVE Online, and they talk about POS code, and how like the POS system, the player-owned star-based system in EVE is so ingrained in so many different systems that it becomes hard to detangle it if you're trying to do something a little bit different.
Yes.
I think obviously sounds like more or less the same thing is true when you're talking about our UI elements, because they are like, you're right, like any little button that needs to be changed might mess up something that is totally unrelated. It's somewhere on the other side of the interface. And you just might not even know about it until after you've already done the work of fixing that in the first place.
So you can't really go back and touch the base components without making sure it's like backward compatible, because you can't really go in and remove functions because they might be used somewhere. So on this next slide, this is actually a old picture that was taken from EVE, where somebody went in, found all the different types of buttons, and found like 150 different button classes. And you can see like some have like minor variations, but it can be everything like from color, like background textures, shadows on text, or icons left or right side, only icons, circular, like round buttons, square buttons, small buttons, big, like there's so many variations. So like I'm not going to say, okay, I said like 150 buttons mean 150 different solutions. Yes, it's right. I mean, some of these are probably being reused, you know, I can't like say this is like a hard requirement, but as you can see, this like means a lot of code maintenance, basically. Let
me ask you guys just sort of a general question real quick, and any of you can feel free to chime in and answer this. Do you feel like this is a problem that happens, and I don't even call it a problem, because obviously like EVE's UI does a really good job doing what it's trying to do, right? But it's also old. It's very old at this point and has a lot of accumulated layers on top of it. Do you feel like this is an issue of planning, or an issue of just like, not going back? Like, I guess the question I'm asking is this something that can be prevented, or is this something that happens naturally over time?
I think it's hard to prevent it, at least like the way they thought about it originally, making this abstraction in code. I mean, it's not a bad idea, but I think, like you say, it kind of just gradually happened over the years, because then you have like new designers coming in, creating new elements, and everything means that the engineers need to be resourceful and figure out how to do this in code. So I think we can probably learn from this now, and that is our plan. But I think maybe, I don't know, it's tough to say if this can be completely prevented.
I guess we'll see, right?
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Yeah, exactly. Sure. Because you always plan something, and it might not go exactly according to plan. That's kind of the thing.
Carry on. This is great.
Okay, so here you see, this is a screenshot from the game that will be, or like what will be released in June. And there you can see, I mean, these are clearly buttons, right? Like they look like buttons. You press them, they have like a hover state. You click them and it shows you like which window is open. You interact with them, they have a tooltip. But in our system, this actually isn't a button because our buttons that we have can't look like this and don't have the capabilities basically, or like the implementation to have like these two different frames on the top and the bottom. So this is again another example of us kind of being resourceful and using what we have, and this ended up being a component with frames and the icon and tooltip, but like no, it's not actually a button.
Sure, I mean it looks like it looks like a button.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know, and it is a button in a sense,
yes, of course.
but it's not defined as a button within our system.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Understood.
So everything, the girls are gonna talk about this in their presentation, how we're gonna try to implement this basically, and how they're doing it. That's not my expertise, but this is just me being kind of figuring things out basically from what we have and what we can use.
Sure.
And I get the design. It's supposed to look like this and do this, and I can't use the button component that we have now basically.
Right.
So that's kind of what's the pitfall here with our old system. I think we can all agree. I was trying to make like points of how we could fix these or like how we could make it better. And I think the dream vision is like this modularity where like we decouple the code and design so that designers can actually implement the look more and have like more granular pixel control over the elements. But there are of course like ways to do this. Like we can have like a markup language, or what you see is what you get, like in code editor or something. This is pretty, I think this is pretty much a future vision, but it would be great. Consistency, which I believe is something they're probably going to be talking a lot about in the coming slides, which is basically like making all the elements look and feel the same so they can be repurposed and reused rather than always like reinventing the wheel, as has kind of been the pitfall in previous versions. And sustainability, like try to invest in long-term solutions and maybe even something that's more frontier specific, because I think maybe the kind of, I wouldn't say mistake, but like trying to make it multifunctional right from the bat, like eat it with the abstraction and trying to make it work for everything usually means it's like might not work for anything, or like
and maybe not. Yeah, I mean, I know we're dancing around this a little bit, but maybe not so much mistake as just like lessons that we can learn from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not a mistake. It's a pretty Yeah,
it's doing the job.
It's doing the job, and it's a good idea, but it just gets harder to maintain. It's the thing. Like it kind of exponentially grew all of a sudden. Instead of making it maybe just focused on this one project, trying it to like fit all ideas or all like future games or everything is just gonna, it's just hard to maintain.
Cool.
Yes, and I think that's me.
Cool. Good. Good start. Love that.
Yeah, I made it through.
Love it.
So
you nailed it.
I'll pass the baton to and the actual keyboard that I have here. I'll pass it over to Laura.
Thank you.
Nailed it.
Yes. So everything is placeholder, but how do we move on from that?
Right.
It's probably the question you're all asking. It's the question that we are asking and are trying to answer currently. So in October, shit got a bit real.
For real?
Team, the UIX team started to grow with the addition of CCP LayoutLord. Joined us like full time and in-game. I'm working on in-game stuff. The to-do list was also starting to grow, but the time was not. The exact opposite was true for time.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
So this kind of created the need to, get some unification within the design team on the vision, on the plan, on the roadmap. Like, it's not the fact that we haven't, like, everything is a placeholder,
Sure.
yes, but we're also like, everything is a placeholder because for the past 2-3 years, we've just been trying to find a starting point, like a place to jump up from.
Sure.
Finding our footing
Mm-hmm.
in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, last October, we were really like, okay, now we really need to sit down and start this work like fully. What do we have? What words are we using? And all of that. And so we needed to unify our vision. So create some sort of like a guiding light to centralize all of the three of us, and alongside, getting unified as well with CCP Maximum Cats and his vision for the UI. And so we also needed to solidify our approach to this, not only in the approach of writing this document, this or finding the guiding light, but also just in the approach of the way we work as well.
Cool.
So for the longest time of in-game stuff, it was just the two of us, me and CCP Hex. And so what we also realized in October was that we needed to start defining our terminology, because we had been, having these words. We always, of course, had like some inspiration or some direction that we were trying to go in. But then we're like, okay, we've touched on brutalism,
Mm-hmm.
and then we realized brutalism means a different thing to each one of us. And I was like, okay, now we actually need to take our time and like write down what brutalism means for us, means for a frontier. What is brutalism in the frontier?
Sure.
So what we mean by the words that we use, and then also how do we apply that? How does that terminology that we write and the definition apply to the visuals as well?
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so we started this work in December, working on our design manifesto, basically, the vision of UI and UX in the frontier. So originally, this is like kind of what we want to achieve. Hopefully this year, to get this kind of solidified. It's going to be a constant work in progress, all of this. And it is like a pet project on the side for us. Like, we need a unified vision. We need to get grounded in this, but as well, like, there is a big to-do list, and so other stuff does come first. But that doesn't mean, though, like, because that other stuff also informs this work a lot. So the two go hand in hand. So we want to find our seed words. We want to plant seed words. So what is the core, like, terminology that we can use to describe what we're trying to achieve, so that can guide our design decisions. Out of those words, can we create a vision statement that is kind of really, it's a digestible vision statement that everyone in our team, not just the design team, can understand, but also, does that vision statement trickle over to other teams and other disciplines? Can they use this work that we are doing as well? But then, fundamentally, we want to get creating design pillars as well. So just how do we encapsulate that vision in those in fundamental principles in a way?
It's funny. And I hate to interrupt, but it's funny you mentioned how it needs to be digestible for everybody on across the entire team, not just obviously you guys as designers or CCP Heartbleed as an engineer, but like, for example, the UI, the overlay that's used here for this stream, all of these little elements, the bars and the little notches in the corners and things, those are all things that came from obviously from our art team, our creative team, but that's all reflective of the work that you guys are doing, because those are all things that we have. You can see stuff like this in the game right now. Obviously, this will change and evolve over time as we get close to a cleaner product, and this will probably start to look more like the work that you're doing in the future. But this is, I mean, it's not even just on our streams; it's on our slideshows. Like, if you've ever been to a presentation we've ever done, if you're going to FanFest, you're going to see a presentation that has shit around it all like this, and that's because it all comes from this design philosophy that you guys are working on putting together, which is super cool.
Yeah, and even like just trickling down into marketing and our website, like how can we unify everything that Frontier is and just create these principles and those design pillars that everyone in the team, the whole Frontier team, can follow or be a part of creating.
Yeah, and maybe one also to add, just to keep the immersion on all platforms, because like Frontier is a very multiple platform, so keeping it immersive at all times.
I mean, and that's the real appeal, right? Like because that's a way for us to then go out and, you know, anytime somebody looks at any one of our platforms that has the same kind of design language being used in it, they're like, oh, that's Frontier. Like, obviously, we can just see from a glance that's obviously, you know, that's them, that's their thing, you know. Which is it is you know, all this to say, like, when we talk about UI UX, a lot of times I feel like people think it's just an in-game thing, but it's so much. It's like the design philosophy of how interfacing with any of the Frontier stuff should look, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. But yeah, so I'm gonna tell you about the seedword hunt, because that's the only thing that's kind of the place we've gotten to now.
Oh yeah.
It's even only just half finished. But so you've probably seen this. That's the pillars of Frontier. It's grounded in science. It's a cruel survival experience. It's rebuilding a broken world. So what we did here, this wasn't UI UX specific words or a word hunt that we did. It was more, we did this when we started tackling base building. And what we did was that me, CCP LayoutLord, and CCP Lookup, we all sat down and just in like a timed brainstorming session said, like, what is it? Like, everyone just putting out words of the activity or the whys, the whats of base building. Now that I was looking, putting all of this together, it is kind of relevant now. It trickled into the seed work, the UI UX seed hunt that we did as well. So what we did as well is putting those words into the pillars of Frontier, and we're like, how do they line up? Where do they sit within? Where does it overlap? Like, what words are both rebuilding a broken world and grounded in science, etc. So a few of those words as well always kind of stood out to us. We were like, it's exploration, it's history, like you're surviving, what are you doing? You're exploring to survive, or are you, like, what are you surviving? Like, asking all of these kind of questions and just thinking about stuff. Letting that kind of mull over in our brains while we tackle other stuff as well. So when I say that, trickled as well over into the actual stuff that we were doing with the UI UX word bank. It's really difficult to just start a blank. So we just said, like, oh, we need to find words. We need to find seed words. Like, how do you find that correct seed word, right? And so because those words are going to be the ones that kind of define the rest of the world. And so how do you populate the seed word that kind of embodies everything that Frontier is supposed to look and feel like? I think we took a kind of an interesting approach here. It was really fun exercise to do. So what we did was look at it from the 3 perspectives. So one from the personality side, the emotional experience, and then the storytelling as well. So what we did was we created these sliders that kind of, so each slider has like opposites, words that are opposites, and it goes into one direction. So if you read the first slider, it is like, that one is positioned at 90% ruthless and 10% compassionate. And so it's like finding that nuance between these opposite words that we kind of want to capture. So we did this, and we had the CCP maximum cats here go in and adjust these sliders by like trying to make him kind of trying to capture the essence of what he's trying to say to us.
I'm just imagining him sitting here, like, looking at a screen full of sliders, just like slowly over the course of a day, like moving them one a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, going like, yeah, that's better.
Yeah,
this
that's
is good.
exactly what it looked like.
Hell yeah. Sick. This is so cool.
Yeah, and so, yeah, so for the personality, and like I said, like this here is still a very much work in progress, and this is like we only use this to kind of start generating the words, because it's really difficult to go from nothing to all of a sudden having like relevant words. So these sliders were more of like a question of what's the personality of the UI, like finding that identity. And then what we did was, with the help of a little bit of help from AI, we took each slider and we generated 5 words for each slider that kind of caught the nuance of where each slider is positioned. So like, what 5 words can you generate from being 90% ruthless and 10% compassionate? And we did that with all of that, and so we got 75 words out of this one.
Okay, good start.
And we went on to the emotional experience as well. And so this was kind of the question of what should the emotional experience you have when interacting with the UI look like? And out of those, we got 70 words. And then the storytelling. So what story is the UI telling you? Like, what history? Like, what kind of that's where kind of CCP Maximum Cast as well came in with the lore.
Yeah.
And kind of with this, when we were doing the sliders, we really took a dive into the lore and into the narrative side of things, and kind of trying to capture what is the story telling you, and then generated from that 70 words as well.
Nice.
So what we've done as well, like here, so we kind of took the double diamond approach to this, so going very wide in a search for a lot of words, so that we could then start narrowing it down, and writing descriptions for stuff that we kind of thought made sense. And so, like I said, very much work in progress. Like, we haven't even gotten to populating the storytelling bit, but we have a few favorites in the personality and in the emotional experience as of now. And so now we are on our way to create a word bank that we can, they can help guide us towards finding our own words, and then moving on, taking those words, creating the vision statement, finding the design pillars, asking the questions, okay, how does that word translate into vision? How can we visualize this concept and this?
So I guess the question that's going to arise from this, because this is, these kind of exercises are great when you're trying to plan out, you're trying to gain some kind of consensus creatively, right? And that is effectively what this is, right? You are doing a creative thing that is going to turn into something practical. When you're looking at, because obviously you guys are hard at work right now, obviously on the stuff that is going to be coming out in the not so distant future. When you're looking at trying to build this base of understanding for this project that you're going to be working on for a long time, while also trying to develop that same project in conjunction with designing it, is that a challenge that is uniquely difficult, or is that just kind of par for the course?
It is both.
Yeah.
So we kind of look at it in 3 ways. One being this work, this seed work, this design manifesto work. Other side being building up the design system.
Yeah.
And starting to curate that, but then also working on features. The thing is, every single one of those will have to inform the other.
Yeah.
And so they cannot be finished or finalized without the other one. So using base building, for example, to test all of this out, okay, and that's where I'm gonna hand it over now to CCP LayoutLord, and you will see how all of this work has translated into visuals.
I love it. All right,
got it all planned out.
CCP LayoutLord. I'm looking at this. I'm using my eyes. And I'm seeing a lot of how you say things that make sense to me, right? When I think of like what an interface should look like, I see a word modular. Sure, little things you move them around, great. Okay, I see subtle, certainly not extravagant, not overblown. But then I see words like severe, and I'm like, okay, that's what makes a box and a button severe, right?
UX.
Sure.
You,
It's
All right.
all in the UX.
Take it
it's
away.
the
Alright.
story it tells you.
Yeah. All right, let's see it.
All right. So, January came.
Yeah.
Built up. All right. So January came, and that was when we started base building. And base building was the perfect opportunity for us to start to hone in on our own style and try to then utilize all of this work, all of the seedboard exercises we did. And why was base building so perfect? Base building is an entirely new feature with new user flows to old interactions, so that the players might be familiar with.
Sure.
And as you build your space in space, you need a wide range of assemblies to survive, and each with its own interaction, meaning a lot of UI and a lot of UX. And then finally, it's a big, complex feature that touches almost every discipline in our team, especially the EveNet team and art team.
Yeah.
So that meant we had to consider a lot during the design phase. And with that said, these words kept popping up. Modular, like you said.
Yep.
And it was like, purposeful, efficient, and modular. These words kept popping up as we were working on this feature. Why? So what they meant to us, like purposeful, it meant that every action should be intentional and driven by a practical goal and echoing ambition and determination. And then efficient, speed, and effective functionality is prioritized while leaving room for creativity and moments of inspiration.
Sure.
And then finally, with modular, that meant that every interaction is reduced to its essential purpose and designed with flexibility to adapt to any context. Systems are then built from those reusable modules, fostering clarity and sustaining an intuitive experience at every level of complexity.
Yeah.
And then, how did that look in action while we were designing? That meant full screen windows and no fluff.
Okay. All right. So
now we're getting to it.
This is okay. First of all, this is hot. Second of all, one of the things, and we kind of talked about this the other day, right? When I was looming over in your area talking about this stream specifically, was so Eve players not to cast aspersions, as an Eve player in the past, whenever somebody has come along and fiddled with the interface, not to say that it's been bad, but it's always I feel like your natural gut reaction to, and this is true about anybody with anything, right? Your natural gut reaction to change is like, oh, hey, no, I like the way it was. Go back to that way. Why are you doing something different? Is there a way by, now that you've started out, you're doing a new thing, you can almost kind of future-proof that when you talk about creating a modular design where you can kind of reuse elements into the future that feel familiar, that feel something that people can recognize, something that people have an identity with. Can you then use those same tools in the future and be like, okay, this thing is doing something new, it's doing something different, but it's going to look and feel the way that you're familiar with. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah.
So yeah, but with the full screens, like Frontier is a scary place. You need to keep alert and stay focused. So we felt full screens is just, it makes so much sense, and small windows aren't going to cut it. And we wanted you to just do one task at a time, and just close the window, get on with the next one.
Yeah.
Then soon is probably on the horizon, we're going to have automation. So adding even more purpose to each action you do in base building. And we just want to put an emphasis on the activity itself and the purpose of interacting with each assembly. And you shouldn't be distracted by any other windows.
Right.
And then with the fluff stuff, as designers, we can't help ourselves, but to over-design fluff and adding decorations because they make everything look cool. But when we were trying it out, we just felt it felt so off to us, and it never really fit our style. So again, with the word exercise, this word purposeful just came up and made a lot of sense to us. So we just decided no fluff, no decorations, unless it has a purpose. So like data visualization or like number sequences, they are actual data.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Not just noise, right?
Not just noise.
It has to mean something.
It has to mean something.
Yeah.
Everything means something. All activities you choose to do, there is an emphasis on you doing that activity and not being bombarded by the fact that you can open 150 windows at the same time. And it's purposeful.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. I love that.
Yes. And then efficient. With the full screen layout, we now had a lot of more space to make absolutely sure that the UI can be as clear and as intuitive as possible, or like as efficient as possible, because we want the players to be quickly understand the task at hand and not have to have a manual next to you or go to Discord and ask like, how do you use this? And like I said, Frontier is a scary place. You need to be on high alert. And then when you interact with an assembly, we will provide you with all that you need at that time. You finish the action and take all of the other distractions away.
You shouldn't need 6 windows open to accomplish a task. You can have one. No. Cool. Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And with the modular, wait, there we are. No. Laura's helping me. Yes.
2 for 3. All right. Carry on.
All right, then modular. So in base building, there are so many complex actions behind every assembly. So what we did at the start of the design phase was like we dissected all of the actions from every assembly, and we started to look for patterns that we could then translate into components or modules. And by doing that, we were able to design every actions quicker for every assembly, and then also for the engineers to just start utilizing those same components and modules to start to puzzle together the action windows.
Oh, yeah.
And then more importantly, just like you mentioned earlier, to start to create this visual pattern for players to start to recognize these components as they will be used in multiple places. So with that said, do you want to see new stuff from base building?
You know, CCP LayoutLord, do I want to see new stuff for base building? Man, what a question. Yes, absolutely, of course. I can only speak for the viewers of the future. But I am their representative, I think, in this moment. So yes, I think I would like to see new stuff, please, and thank you.
All right. So here we have the new updated assembly catalog.
Okay.
We're going to add a lot more assemblies, so we needed to find a better way of displaying them, making them more accessible. And yeah, we added categories.
Yeah, this is super cool, and I've kind of seen this in motion already. This is it is so much different than it's less. How do I say this? There are restrictions, obviously, in place here in terms of how base building is going to work from like a game design point of view. So that there's not just as much spam all over the universe. That is one of the biggest criticisms, I think, a lot of times of the current system right now, where you can just kind of build anything, which you can still do, build anything anywhere, wherever. But this at least allows there to be a certain like form structure to it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And now I'm sure this is scalable as well. Like if we add another 20 items to the industry tab, we can, you can just scroll through those without too much trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Will we allow players to reorganize these if they decide they want? Yeah, I mean, like let's say that you use a certain thing a lot. Can you favorite one of these things?
not in June,
Sure.
but it's a good idea.
Potentially for the future. Okay. Just
It's a
an
very
idea.
good idea.
Just an idea. All right, carry on, please. I love
The
this.
design, like here, modularity comes in here again because everything is designed so modularly
Yeah.
that we can always add on, take it apart, or add stuff on, and it's very easy for us to go back and rethink a lot of this stuff now
Hell yeah.
because it's so modular.
That is sick.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. And then
Oh,
full screen windows.
oh. I mean, just look at it. Okay, so I don't. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know. You guys never played Eve Online. None of you are Eve players. Would think.
No.
I'm sure for your own health, probably. I can only speak as somebody. Well, again, I can only speak for myself. But there's the interface for interfacing with structures in Eve is fairly outdated, I think, at this point, and it's super archaic. It's one of those things to quote the conversation I had with CCP Maximum Cats last week. It really does feel like you need to like consult a wise man on a mountaintop in order to understand how certain things within that user interface works. Seeing this is just, it's so clean. It's everything's there. Oh, okay. Sorry. Continue, please.
But then here you see, like, we provide you with the inventory, we provide you with the root that has the like base information, base settings for the assembly. So this is an example of like us providing you with the stuff that you need at each action. And here's another.
I mean, come on,
another.
man. Like, oh,
Yes.
yeah. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then on to the creme de la creme.
Please.
Creme de la creme.
Please.
Yeah.
What have you got?
So out of all of that exploration, like I said, like the two of them, the design system kind of started to inform, like being formed slowly while doing this. Like everything needed to be designed within context,
Sure.
and within the context that we were going to use it. So out of that exploration, a star was born.
Star, you say? All right, let's see it.
Just introduce you to our very own design system.
Graviton. Okay. All right. That's got some heat to it. That feels. First of all, this is very funny because I'm working with more information than the audience has. I remember just like 2 days ago, yesterday, whatever it was yesterday, when we were talking about this, and you're like, I don't know how we're gonna pronounce. I don't know. Maybe we just like it doesn't need to be a big deal. We can just like, oh, it's Graviton, whatever. I'm glad you've unrolled out the red carpet here. It's got its own blur in the background. Like this is very good.
We needed to do like a proper reveal.
Hell yeah. All right. So Graviton. It'll be Graviton UI.
Graviton UI
Okay.
is Frontier's design system.
Cool.
And so, like I said, because we've been doing a lot of work in context, we've now managed to define a lot of stuff and kind of hone in on, like CCP LayoutLord said, our style, our vision. Nothing of this is like complete or set in stone. We are still like we're still just trying to clean up our Figma boards at this point.
Yeah.
But they are a mess, believe me. I wouldn't recommend for anyone entering in there without knowing where they're going.
I saw a glimpse.
Really overwhelmed.
Yeah, just the other day, over the shoulder, and I was like, "Whoo!"
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Anywho, like now we are starting to line up our styles, like what sizes of and types of typography are we using in which instances, color and their variations.
I'm just gonna copy that. Can you go back to that last slide real quick?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna copy that for my own use later.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, go ahead and continue.
Yeah. Starting to develop like these basic level UI components, using them in places, seeing if they fit, seeing if they work, all the good stuff. Input fields, toggle buttons,
increments.
Oh
my
everything,
God! What an
everything
idea.
you can dream of.
Oh.
States of different cards, of item cards, of items in your inventory. How do we use them? Like here, and like creating variations of item cards with the large one with all of the information. With you can see here like one thing that's kind of another one of our words or approach here has always been like we and this applies to purposeful and efficient. Like you mentioned in the beginning, games, throwing everything in your face at the same time.
Yeah.
Our approach to all of this has always been we want to give you the information you need in the context that you need it. If there's an instance that you need to see a job card with the name on it, you get the job card with the name on it. If the only purposeful thing or information that you need at that instance is not the name but the time or just the minor data, we can free up space and not overwhelm you with all of that information by just giving you something like you see there in the middle with a hover state instead of the name. So this is the type of stuff that we've really been exploring as well. Just honing in on being pretty contextual, being purposeful, being efficient. So yeah, like you see here, like hover states.
So I don't want to I don't really want to bury the lead here, but I think this is kind of an important question to ask because going back to the question we talked about before of what is a placeholder, what isn't. We can already start to see some of this reflected in the client currently, and I know that there's a lot more of this is going to be reflected in the client come June. Is it fair to say, in your professional assessment, that if something does not look like this right now, then it is for sure not going to be like that in the future? In other words, if it looks different than this currently, it will get changed.
Yeah, I would say most likely we just have to go back really and change the base components that we're using, which is going to be a huge engineering undertaking, of course, and that's why we're kind of figuring out solutions right now to make things look a bit closer to the actual design. But yeah, hopefully in the future things will take this direction, and the base components, we will switch out the components that we're using now and use like these what am I trying to say? the components that look the same, basically.
Of course. So just to use an example, so the chat window, right? The chat window is it still uses Carbon UI. It comes straight out of EVE Online. It's just a placeholder that was in place with Carbon, I think this is still Carbon UI. It's not none of that's Photon, but something that looks like that, while it's still going to serve the same purpose, will look significantly different once we've gone through the process of kind of elevating all of those things to the new UI language. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And like every element within our game will have a revamp.
Yeah. Awesome.
I will make sure of that, really.
Yeah.
We are also like one of the mindset approaches that we started we flipped around in December when we started all of this work, was like we were constantly thinking like one side of the coin was everything is a placeholder, the other side being what do we not want to do.
Right.
Like we were constantly just surrounded and working within Photon and Carbon UI. So it's like, oh, we don't want to do this. We don't want to do this, and kind of not exploring solution, rather just like committing to the opposite of what we don't want to do.
Sure.
So when we started all of this work, we kind of also reverse that mindset a bit and saying like, instead of saying what do we not want to do and like how do we not want to be like Eve, it's like, what do we want to do?
Sure.
What is the identity of Frontier? Like how can we create and encapsulate and embody what Frontier is, looks and feels like, and be your own thing, and not like not always approaching it with the same like thinking of like what do we not want to do to look like Eve.
I think a lot of people are going to be excited to hear that too. And I think a lot of that's just because there is obviously right now a lot of the game looks a lot like Eve, and will continue to, at least for a little while, as we start to work more of these systems out. And not just the system that you guys are working on, but also game design systems. Things as simple as like, what does a warp look like, right? What does docking look like? All of these things are things that are aspects of the game that were taken from Eve when we first started building this thing, and now we are working on either replacements or updates or any number of things. So while it is very easy to just say like, oh, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do this, we don't want it to look like it is. I think what you're probably saying is it is much more important for us to say, yeah, that's fine. Eve is an incredible game doing its thing. We don't want to compare ourselves to that because while we share a lot of the same history and the same heritage of design in general, it's a different game, and we're trying to do something totally different, right?
100%, and there's a lot we can learn from Eve and learn from the UI of Eve and their design system. We can take the learnings, we can be aware of that, but we eventually want to be our own thing, our own identity.
Yeah.
Like we need to find the core of Frontier and not just the core of what is not Eve.
Right. Yeah. Cool. I think this looks sick as hell. Please carry on.
Yeah. So no buttons.
Buttons. Actual
cool
buttons.
Actual buttons. But yeah, no. Like I said, it is going to be a while until we everything looks like it does in our Figma slides.
But maybe not soon TM, but soonish TM. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we are a small team, and like CCP Heartbleed said, like there are a lot of limitations to Carbon UI, and a lot of engineering depth. So yes, but there's another but.
But
there's another but. I mean, of course, we will be implementing it, and with every new cycle, you're gonna see new stuff, and like you said, you've already seen a lot of stuff coming in, the new font. Coming June, there's a lot of new stuff coming there as well, but we were still limited with Carbon UI with there. But of course, we want to hear all of the feedback. We love feedback.
Yeah.
Bring on the feedback. We can do a lot in Figma, and
It's also just we want to take our time. We don't want to rush this and everything flopping. We want to do this correctly. We want to build it from the ground up. Because everything has been a placeholder, we have had to since January, take a step back and actually define and then find that footing, pour the concrete into the ground so that we can actually stand and start building from that.
Hell yeah.
But we want to do it correctly, and therefore we really appreciate the patience and we really appreciate every single feedback that you guys can give us.
I love it. There's a question, so we're gonna do here very quickly. First of all, I have no questions. Thank you so much. This has been incredible. We're gonna very quickly. So we've been talking now for almost an hour, which, by the way, nailed it. If I'm being honest, good job, guys. Got it in one. There are some questions that our founders asked, and I'm gonna bring those up here in just a moment. But one of the questions I know had to do with how, what's the most useful way for players to provide feedback for you guys? What do they need to take into account when they're giving you feedback? And so we're gonna for sure do that one. But before we do that one, we have a couple of others, and we're gonna kind of don't spend a lot of time thinking about these. We will maybe do some more of this in the future. First of all, shout out to our founders for providing all these questions. You guys, I asked you for questions and gave you 8 hours to do it, and you gave me almost 50 questions. So awesome! Thank you for that. Maybe thank you more from me than from them because they have to be the ones to answer them. I have a bunch of them lined up. We're not going to do them all because we're cooking. We're absolutely cooking on time. And I know that I have to in the future I'm going to have to do an intro and an outro sort of thing, and I don't want this to be a 3-hour long stream. So let's just start with the first one here. Let's start with this one. So this one comes from Old Iron Science, and the question is, I think, pretty straightforward. How much customization will there be in the UI in the future, and will this eventually become a moddable aspect of the game? I don't know how much we can speak to the moddability of it right now, because that's obviously that is going to be a question probably more for the blockchain team. But in terms of customizability, one of the things people, we're going to see this, I think, in another question as well, in terms of just the things that you see on your screen in any given moment. When you undock, you see ships out there in space. Right now, it all very much kind of looks the same. And people want to know, well, will they be able to change colors? Will they be able to change shapes? Are these options things that you guys are considering somewhere down the road?
So, good news and bad news.
Okay.
Good news is yes, and the short answer is yes in the future.
Okay.
Longer answer is that we want to, and the bad news basically, we are now like going into the direction of trying to strip everything away so that we can then see what the need is for customization.
Cool.
So we don't want to be the ones that decide which aspects of the game you can customize, like just for out of nothing. So instead rolling back the already customization features that are currently in the client.
Sure.
And therefore like defining the need for customization, but only after we've built the Graviton and everything up. So like we are not thinking about customization now, only like the bare minimum, just like the required accessibility
Sure.
Points of customization. But any like customization that's
so
like
the priority is getting something out first that then people can play with, and then after that saying like, okay, so what do they actually need from then, right?
Yeah, that's the approach that we want to take. Like we want to recognize and hear from everyone what they want to customize, like not us deciding what you can customize or not. As a part of the other part of the question, like multiple, we don't know. Like but like we said earlier, everything is designed so modularly that we have designed it so openly that we can kind of go into whatever direction we feel the need from.
Hell yeah. Okay, this next question I think is really, really funny and really good. The question comes from Shish. I heard it rhymes with fish. It says, do the devs consider difficult UI/UX to be a core part of EVE's identity? In other words, is the UI ever frustrating on purpose? Do you guys, I guess the question here is then, do you design things to make people hurt? Is pain part of the process?
No.
I wouldn't think that Eve does that either, right? It's probably just because it's so layered.
Yeah.
It has just layered complexity. I don't think anybody sets out to make a complex game, really.
Well, and do you think part of that too has something to do with like emergent gameplay, right? Where like players, you create a system with something in mind. The players say, okay, cool, but no, actually we're going to use this thing to do something completely different. And then now they're using the system, the tools that person has designed for something they were not designed for, and then now they're saying, well, why isn't this doing the thing that I wanted it to do? But it was never intended to do that in the first place? Is that I guess that's maybe a broader question. When you're talking about designing new, interface systems, is the many ways a player might use those systems something that you take into consideration when you're designing them out? Or do you have in your head like, I hope a player is going to do this and only this? And please try not to do anything else with it. Or do you have to account for like, oh, people are going to fuck with this pretty bad?
I mean, I would say like, it's all right if you intend to do it with something else. Like CCP Overload was showing me something the other day with smart gates, and I was amazed how they were utilizing the root system.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, this is cool. And this gives me inspiration more to better enhance it.
Sure.
So it is for us also just like, because we are still developing our game.
Right.
So I think we have a lot of more like leeway to maybe change stuff.
Yeah.
So,
like, I mean, like there's also in the discussion of, context of dApps and all of that, like we want to see what builders and everyone who interacts with it does with it. Like how creative can they be? Can they inspire us to actually realize stuff that we didn't realize and then give us that feedback? And that's what we really mean by working with the community. Like we're developing it with everyone. We want to make it for you. We're not making it so that we can tell you what to do.
I was gonna say, you're not just making it so you can hang it up on your refrigerator and be like, yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Exactly.
Cool.
But no, nothing is going to be intentionally hard unless we've designed it to be difficult. But then it's up to you to solve that problem, and we've designed for you to run into that problem and solve it.
Wonderful. Okay, that is probably encouraging for a lot of people, I'm gonna guess. This next question comes to us from Econ Martin. It says, where do you draw inspiration from? And is there an example of game UI/UX that you would consider perfect? And I'm going to extend this not just to game UI UX, but just like in like interfaces in general. You know, to use one as an example, I always thought the way that like Netflix did, you know, their interface with regards to like finding things. I mean, I think it's probably not as good now as it was at the start, but originally the interface was very simple. Here's a list of movies. Here's how you get to different genres. Bada bing, bada boom, done. Nothing to worry about. Is there anything that you guys like look at when you're talking about, you know, gaining inspiration or trying to draw, you know, creative design from somewhere?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. We have like for base building, we have a favorite game, Satisfactory has been
yeah.
and Factorio. They've been a
Factorio.
lot of inspirations to us. We really love it. And then Frostpunk has also has given us a little bit of inspiration.
Hell yeah.
But then it is also like when we are designing, like it is interesting to, especially with the assemblies and the actions to the assemblies, is like how do you translate that to real life?
Right.
So it's just like, yeah, I was looking at like van batteries and with network nodes, just how do people
van
go
batteries.
like full what do you say when you go fully off grid?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, when you're living, when you're just living
all
in the
of
hills.
this physical real life stuff as well. It's like you know, kind of we're like seeking examples when we're trying to do like express what we're meaning with our ideas. It's like, for example, like when we're doing a manufacturing window and refining as well, like, okay, like let's visualize the route that the items that you put in are taking into coming out on this other end. There's this stuff like, can we, you know, can we take inspiration from microwaves? Are you looking into the, you know, the glass and seeing it being molded together or whatever?
Nice.
Like, so
that's very, very cool. And actually this kind of, I feel like, leads to this next one I'm going to bring up here real quick. So this person, first of all, there were two people, I'm pretty sure they were both anonymous, who basically wrote small essays in the chat box. I provided the three of you with the link to those as well, and I beg that you to please share that with CCP Hedgehogs as well, because they are really, really good. And we're not going to get to all of them. In fact, we're not even probably going to scratch the surface of those, but they are very good. And I think this one is great. So this comes from Anonymous. They say, what core feeling or player experience is the new UI/UX aiming to deliver? Right now, some parts feel disorienting or overly minimal. Some key elements like grid awareness and icon clarity seem kind of hard to read, especially in travel and combat. I guess the question then is, I mean, and this is kind of something we've already answered, right? Is the philosophy when somebody opens up the game and they look at the very first screen, they see, you know, like imagine you open up World of Warcraft for the first time. You see the taskbar at the bottom, you see the things on the sides. You're kind of given a feeling when you first see that. When somebody opens up Frontier for the first time, what do you want their first feeling to be? It should probably, I imagine, not disorientation, but well, maybe not. You tell me.
No. And it's like with that's where our like word search is coming in.
Yeah.
Like really handy. And like not finished, so nothing we say to this question is like finalized.
Yeah.
Don't hang this over our heads. But you know, it is this what we've talked about is, you know, brutalism within a minimalistic frame.
Yeah.
It's harsh. It's, you know, survival. It's history. It's archaeology. So you know, evoking feelings of curiosity and inspiration. And so all of those words are kind of where we are now. And like we said, we are still like not even halfway through this work of the design manifesto. But like one word as well being intuitive, like and contextual. We want you to intuitively know what to do, and we want to keep you immersed into the world of Frontier. Like we don't want to. We think a lot about not where are the friction points of you going out of the game to getting the information that you need or the answers that you need. Like how can we provide that information and those answers to you in game? So all of that.
Love that. That's super, super cool. We actually answered, I believe we more or less answered this next question as well, but I also want to bring it up because Anonymous, I want you to know that I see you, and I asked this question earlier for this reason specifically. Wants to know more about customizing icon shapes, colors, something that is being considered, something that's going to be probably in there somewhere down the road, but it is part of a more comprehensive design plan, right? It's not just something that you're going to, tomorrow you're not just going to have a red square you can put up there. It's going to be something that is planned out. It's going to be purposeful. Purposeful? Yeah? Okay. Cool. Okay, hang on, I got to do a whole little process here. I got to make this one go away. There we go. Nailed it. And then just clicking through these real fast. We've already talked about that one. You guys were super comprehensive, by the way. I pulled up a bunch of questions, not knowing exactly what was going to be in your presentation, but my God, you've answered almost all of them.
Good.
I think this one is one that was pretty good. Hang on. Yeah, we're going to do this one. This one's really good. Okay, so this question comes to us from Narix, and it's kind of a long one. So, and actually, this is the one I wanted to. Okay, this is good. So, they say, I hear a lot of complaints from fellow players about quality of life problems with the UI, but I also hear and understand that the game is in alpha, and these issues might be considered work. These might be considered work better left for later. Makes sense? And perhaps considered polish. What granularity of feedback are you looking for now and for the remainder of the alpha? What areas of the UI would you personally consider complete enough to start focusing real development time on the smaller details? And I guess this is the question, right? When we're talking about giving feedback to you guys and your team, it is hard for people to look at what's there right now and say, okay, this is kind of done-ish. This is not so much done-ish. And, what kind of feedback are you looking for across the board? Is there anything more specific? Is there, do we want to put together a document telling players, hey, this stuff here we feel pretty good about? Give us the small details about that. This stuff over here, not even fucking close, right? You tell me.
Yeah. I mean,
I think all three of you in unison just did the Icelandic
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
No, after June, then more stuff will be more finalized after this cycle. I think after each cycle.
Yeah, after each cycle. Thing is, we have now different kind of working processes here with how we approach features and all of that. So we're doing it in cycles now, which means because we said, shit got real.
Yeah.
And that's why we have all of this work now ongoing. For base building, if we take that for example, because me and CCP LayoutLord can speak to that, is we sat down in the beginning of January and kind of wrote down what our goals were with this and what we are actually testing. So now each cycle we are moving from taking high level feedback from Discord, and are actually now able to test and get more targeted feedback to what we are trying to deliver with each release in a way.
Sure.
So we're at that turning point where we can start actually having discussions, open up that a direct line of communications, reaching out to people hey, do you want to come talk to us about base building, however that looks like. We have never kind of talked about it or defined what that will look like before, but we are definitely at a place where we are open for more targeted and direct feedback on specific stuff.
Cool.
Also, if I can add, I don't want to speak for these ladies,
please,
but
go ahead.
In my mind, this is an iterative progress and will be.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything is really off limits, to be honest.
Sick.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that actually, because that is the the thing we get asked the most, and in general, what is worth talking about, what's worth waiting to talk about, can we complain about this thing now? And I guess the answer is complain about everything, right?
Yeah.
If you don't like it, complain about it.
Yeah.
I have one more question for you guys, and this is one that maybe you can't answer, but I need to answer it. I need to ask it at least, because if I don't, I think they're going to key my car, which would be wild because I don't have a car here. But they will try. If they can't key the car, then they'll just key me. And this is a base building question. And again, I don't know if this is something that even is going to be something that you can answer, but they want to know if we're going to be able to place things vertically, because right now you can only place things horizontally. And it's just killing these people. They need to know that somewhere down the line we'll have an up and a down arrow as well as a side-to-side arrow. Is that something that you, in your professional opinion, see will be coming at some point in the future?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, there we go. All right, I've done my job for today.
Yeah, it is on our horizon.
Beautiful.
Placement logic.
Hell yeah. That's great. That's all I needed to know. That's all I need. That's fantastic. Okay. Well, my God. Look, an hour, 15 minutes. You guys were worried we wouldn't get 20 minutes out of this thing. I mean, my God. You did all the work for me. CCP Hex, CCP Heartbleed, CCP LayoutLord. I have avoided doxing you guys today. Shout out
You did good.
Shout out to me. Not shout out at all to CCP Heartbleed or CCP LayoutLord.
Don't say I didn't warn you, though.
That's true. That's true.
That's why we're not live.
CCP Overload, and I had money on this. I did win a bet.
I even have post-it notes in front of me.
Don't do it. Just look right past them. No big deal. We will be talking to you guys for sure in the not so distant future. We'll probably do another one of these, I imagine, sometime in the after summer months, because we have a lot of work to do between now and then more stuff that's going to happen after that. So, but seriously, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for organizing this. It was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's going to be, I know the community is going to be watching this with bated breath. They're going to be very excited to see how this goes. So for now, that is it for us. I'm going to pass it back over to myself in the future to wrap this thing up. I think we're going to talk about the winners of the contest, the social media contest. We're going to do that next, which is very exciting. I should probably figure out who those winners are going to be. That is a problem for future me. Until then, I've been CCP Jötunn, joined alongside CCP Hex, CCP Heartbleed, and CCP LayoutLord. Take it away, CCP Jötunn. Thank you, CCP Jötunn from the past. Hello, everybody. It's once again me, CCP Jötunn from the present. Or the past again, if you're watching this on YouTube. I did just set myself up to announce the contest, or the winners of our social media contest we did during our Remnant Access period. You're going to have to wait on that just a little bit. We're not quite ready for those. We'll probably be doing them sometime either early next week or the week after. But if they're getting delayed, it's because we are about to go into FanFest. FanFest starts next week. Activities are starting, I believe, as early as Monday of next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you've never been to FanFest before and you're going this year, hell yeah. I've also never been before. Going as a dev for the first time is very strange, but I'm excited about it. Excited to see so many cool people. Get to hang out, talk about starships, drink a lot, and enjoy the, until today, lovely Icelandic weather. So we'll see how that goes. But just to give everybody an overview of what that looks like very quick, this is the upper floor of Harpa here in Reykjavik. You can see the four main areas here. We're going to be in the area number 4. If you just go up the stairs, once you get inside, you'll see it. It's pretty obvious. We'll have signs out front. You'll see me wandering around over there, I'm sure. You can come out, talk to people on our dev team are going to be there. CCP Overload will be there, of course. CCP Goodfellow will be there. CCP Red Dragon, all these people you know from lurking around in chat. And, of course, a bunch of our other devs, like the ones you've met today, like the ones you've met in the past, CCP Wizard, CCP Relativistic, CCP Dramaturge, I think, will be there as well. I mean, all kinds of people are going to be there. It's going to be great. So if you are, coming to FanFest, stop by our area, come talk to us, check it out. We will have a newer version of the game available for test or for playing, I believe, on some of the machines in Harpa. So that'll be a lot of fun. And if you're there, we're also going to be doing, we have a keynote, of course. I believe it's on Saturday morning. Should be a lot of fun. I'm going to be in the keynote, which is crazy. And also, while we're talking about it, very quickly before I let you go, we are also doing a hackathon next week. That starts the beginning of next week. That hackathon is still accepting registrations. If you want to come on and participate in the hackathon, just go check it out. We have links to it on evefrontier.com. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun. People have done some really cool things in the past hackathons. They're going to be talking about pods this time. Pods are basically math magic for computers that I do not have nearly enough folds in my brain to understand, but they are pretty cool. So you should check them out if you get the chance. If that sounds like something that's interesting to you, all that information is available on the website. Until next time, friends. So we are going to be off the rest of this weekend. Most of next week, you will probably not hear a ton from us until FanFest begins, in which case I'm going to be posting a lot of video, a lot of pictures from FanFest, out with players, out with devs, all the different times we're going to be, hanging out, doing our thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. You should, like I said, come check it out. And if you're tuning in remotely, give me a shout in Twitch. Hopefully you'll have a good time. Until next time, my friends, I have been CCP Jötunn, joined earlier in this week by CCP Hex, CCP Heartbleed, and CCP LayoutLord. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, I'll see you on the frontier. Have a lovely rest of your weekend. Good night.